Okay. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. So awkward. I never really know. I told Bud that he's making granola, and it smells so good in here right now. And I told him he has to get out because I said you're gonna make fun of what I say, and he's like, either way, I'm gonna make fun of what you say. So he told me to get started, which he did, and of course I was all nervous because I know he's paying attention even more now, so he can make fun of me, and of course he did. Well, welcome everyone to today's daily tune in. It's a little bit of a shift. It's going to be a little bit of a shift, I believe, from here on out with these the 90 days that we're in. It was this experiment to I wasn't really sure. I'm still not quite sure where we're going with this experiment, but an experiment of consciously creating our reality. And for the first half of this experiment, it's really been about creating the consciousness of the reality, the reality shift that we are looking for in our own individual lives, and also then to multiply and expand and reflect out into the world. So the whole idea here of what I'm all about is finding the sacred of parts of life. Life's always going to be filled with speed bumps and hurdles and those kinds of things. And as we start to learn how to navigate those in a higher level of intelligence and a higher level of emotional intelligence, by combining our intelligences, both of logic as well as the feminine intelligence, the emotional intelligence, and as we bring those together, we're moving into a higher expression of those of how we express that in life. And as we express it more, we start to realize that we are the creators of our reality. We've been talking about that pretty much since day one. That's been kind of how I've lived my most of my adult life as kind of someone who knows I create my own reality, and we have to go through the healing work sometimes to start to pull away those things in our realities that hold us back, that those densities that we've been clearing and purging and really moving through in this last year and in the last 6 months that I've been doing this daily tune in. We're getting to the point now where many of us who are tuning into this kind of message, who are resonating with this message, we are now shifting, doing a pole shift from really tuning into our consciousness, and our consciousness being the sum total of our thoughts and our feelings, which creates the electromagnetic field to then create our reality. So, as this past year, our constant focus has been on our consciousness. What am I thinking? What is my programming? What needs to be updated? What am I pulling in from my past, from my traumas, from my challenges that maybe isn't working in my own favor, my highest and best good? How does that make me feel? And we've been really doing a complete pole shift. We've been talking about this on the daily tune in. I think I can remember talking about it in like late October, maybe November. There's a daily tune in, something about a pole shift. And it was a pole shift in consciousness from being more in that matrix kind of programming of work schedule template normal. This is how we do it. Listen to the government tells you what to do, and we follow the government, and we've a lot of us, because we've shifted our consciousness and looked at things from higher perspectives, we found that many of our lives that were anchored into that world of the matrix thinking, matrix programming, that was too much of a restrictive way of life. So we've made the consciousness pole shift over to now being soul creators, being the artists of our lives. The artist is the creator of the story. The story is created, whether it is written, whether it's spoken, whether it is projected in some way. We all are projecting a story of our consciousness. With those of us in this community that have been talking about all of this and really going deeper and deeper to raise our consciousness, we now know it is our time to create in reality, to be able to project that pole shift in consciousness that we have already done in mind. Okay. So this is the point of the 90 days, is to we were fine tuning in the first kind of half of this 90 days. We've been fine tuning those skills, fine tuning by being aware and increasing our awareness of our behaviors, of our thoughts, of our feelings, to make sure we had everything tidied up, to make sure that everything is make sure that everything's tidied up energetically, that what we are thinking and what we are feeling is creating the electromagnetic field that we want to have, and that we are inspired to have, because we now know that that electromagnetic field is organizing everything that is required to come into physical reality. The second half of this 90 days is that I'm being told is really going to be about writing the, I'm going to say writing, because that's resonant for me, but I want you to hear this in the way, the creative expression that you live within. I'm going to come back to this. Don't let the creative thing freak you out. Second half of this 90 days is for us to write the story and start following the story as it's written. We then follow the story. So what this means is we become the artists. We are the artists of our lives. So however creatively, intuitively, whatever the idea is that is coming to you each and every day, that is how you are creating your fifth dimensional, your soul reality, your higher reality, call it what you want, a new world, your new world, a higher realm. All of those things mean the same thing. We are now ascending in physical dimensionality by writing where we're going. So, how this is showing up for me, so that you can kind of see what's happening here. For a couple of years now, I have been feeling the energy of a book of some sort. I wrote a book back in 2012. And since then, I've known that there's another one in me, and I just couldn't quite I couldn't bring it forth. It all of a sudden yesterday, I had the opportunity to follow some energy, and was invited out of town with Bud, and we went and we had another amazing day that was just filled in with just surrounded in nature. We had our own private beach. We had quiet space. We had joy. We had laughter. We had friendship. We went with our friend Pat. So while he fished, we explored. And as we explored and as we sat, the book, the book idea just started flooding down and just downloading, to the point where I knew what it was. And I've been telling the Ascension Bank, or sharing with the Ascension Bank and the incubator people, that I've been feeling this call in the last week, especially to just write, to just write. And I'm like, what do I write about? What do I write? I was freaking out for about a week about it, because I just was like, I don't know. What do you want me to write? I'd love to write. I was excited about the idea of writing, but I didn't know where the direction was going. The direction came yesterday, and it's a complete pole shift. It's a complete pole shift of anything that I thought I would ever write. Right. The last book I wrote, I lived the story and then I wrote about it. This book is to write the story and then live it. So it is a book about what my soul is calling me to do, writing it the day of, and then I go live it that day. So it's delivered in bite-sized chunks, in daily chunks. So I'm going to start bringing some of that, because I think it's really fascinating. So I'm going to start bringing some of as the book is written daily, that's what the daily tune in is going to be. So it's going to be my story, but in within that is going to be the message that we are going to tune into, because honestly, it's the story of creation. It's the story of the creation of reality. And that is, I'm going to put some story to it, some dramas to it, some imagination to it. And at the same time, it's going to have the message that sends the codes of creation, of a reality that is integrated and that is resonant with soul. And that book, that message is then can be shared. And I'm going to be sharing it as it's written here on the Daily Tune In, and we'll go even deeper into the conversation of it in the Ascension Bank, because the conversation of it is really what we are all talking about in community space in the Ascension Bank, which is the ascension process, the evolutionary process, the process of creating reality and creating worlds based on our consciousness, based on our own rising consciousness. This is all fitting together so beautifully. But, sweet souls, this is where we now start to create in tangible ways. So if you continue with me on this journey for the next month and a half of the Daily Tune In, we will be guided. I don't know where we're going, but we will be guided through the rise into grace. And we fell from grace when we stopped following our soul navigation. Humanity fell from grace when we started buying into and listening to and acting in and behaving within fear and all the attributes of fear, all the attributes being sadness, de- depression, anxiety, stress. All of those life constricting feelings that we have felt have really been telling us that we are off the soul path. And when those things come up and we clear them and we rise up into more and more grace, grace is found when we have gratitude for all of life, when we have peace with all of life, when we have when we are unified as a community. All of the abundant, powerful words that we use to describe the fifth dimensional 5D lifestyle is putting the sacredness and the gratitude and the grace back into life. So this, my friends, we have been working on the rising into grace and consciousness. This is where we start rising into grace in our physical reality. So we're going to watch as our physical reality starts to organize into our soul reality. This is where the storehouse becomes really obvious to us. That's the message I get. I don't know what's coming tomorrow, but that's today's message. And so it begins. What a beautiful, beautiful affirmation for us. And so it begins, it being the story that you are writing for you and the story that I am writing for me. How we write that is completely different. I am going to write it because I am a writer of stories. I am an experiencer of stories. I'm a sharer of stories. For you, you might create it in a different way, but it's going to look completely different than anything you've ever done. Even if you say, I'm a great manifester. We've all learned how to manifest pretty well out of sheer will, but this is going to be different. This is going to be a complete pole shift of how we've ever experienced creation from the top down, top meaning from source down into the physical, rather than the physical up to source. This is completely different. And this is where we learn how to create the magic and bring the magic into physical reality. Sounds pretty exciting to me. I'm very excited for it. I was writing this morning. I was writing the beginnings of this book. I was able to sit at a coffee shop here in Saranda that just opened up for the season, and it's this darling coffee shop underneath these trees, and it looks out over the ocean. And I wrote the first words that came out, what were, and so it begins. And the what I'm calling the book, but I'm going to actually call the story unfolded from there as to what where we are going, what the direction is for our daily tune-ins and for our beautiful rise into grace. So excited to take this journey with you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. Kazembe, Alana, good morning, and Lisa. Hopefully, I'll see you all here in a few minutes on the Ascension Bank call, the group call. Otherwise, thank you all for being here. I hope you just take this to heart, take this message to heart, because there is a very palpable. I'm feeling a very palpable energetic shift into a really sweet and soulful and beautiful experience, no matter what's going on energetically. Everything that is going on energetically at this point is fueling us, is igniting our creation. Okay, so whatever's happening, if it's, if it's still in the challenging and the kind of denser experience of these energies, keep working through that, because that has to be cleared in order to be the clear channel to get into the creative mode. But it's coming soon. If you're still feeling the challenges, I really do feel as if there's a, because you're resonating with this message, because you're here, there is some space in between that will that clearing will kind of ease up, and you'll move into where this message can be heard clearly, and you'll understand it and recognize and embody it, that you recognize that it is for you and it is time to start the creative process in physical form. Super exciting. So thank you for letting me share. I look forward to being back here tomorrow. I look forward to being on the Ascension Bank call in a little bit here. Thank you all for being here, and so being a great support for this platform. I do appreciate it. See you all tomorrow. Mwah. Bye.